Howdy, Desert Boy here, and today I wanted to talk about two of my most frequent EDCs that I carry, my everyday carries in my rotation. Since I've got the Smith & Wesson Shield Plus, I carry it quite often, along with my Ruger LCR and 357 Magnum. Of course, this one's a 9mm, the Shield Plus is. So we're going to talk about that today. Now remember, these are just my opinions and my thoughts as a hobbyist and enthusiast. This is what works for me. You need to do your own research, talk to your own experts, find out what works best for you, and make sure that you're in compliance with all your local, state, and federal firearms laws, especially around carry and CCW. Make sure you got all your permits and everything that you're training and everything that you need to do in order to be in compliance. So just a couple things to mention along those lines. So what one do I carry the most often? Well, I can tell you that when I began everyday carry, I did use the Ruger LCR, right? And it was because it was a gun I was very familiar with. It was one I had that was fairly compact, because generally you want something that's fairly compact, and this one is fairly compact, just like a lot of J-frame revolvers are for Smith & Wesson. This one here, the Smith & Wesson Shield Plus, I would classify more as a mini compact, maybe than a micro compact, because it does have a larger grip. And in some cases, it maybe isn't quite as compact as something like my Sig Sauer P938. But I do like the fact that it has the capacity, and as we talk about the attributes of the two guns, you'll see they're not as far off as you might think they are. So let's talk about that. So first of all, the safety part, right? We can see that this is unloaded. There's no rounds in the Ruger LCR. We can see here that this 10-round magazine is empty. It does also come with a 13 round, but I'm only going to have the 10 round out here for now. And we can see that this gun is unloaded, and we'll go ahead and keep it locked back for the moment. So both guns are unloaded and in a safe condition. So let's talk about the overall weight of the guns. So we go ahead and we'll put this in here as we kind of compare the profiles of them, knowing that both of them are unloaded, of course. Put this one in here. So what if we put them side by side, right? We kind of put them, compare them against each other. You know, they're pretty close in a lot of ways in size, I think you would find, oddly enough, And so let's talk about the statistics of each one of them. Starting with the overall length, right? The overall length of the LCR, right, is 6.5 inches. The overall length of the Shield Plus is 6.1 inches. What about weight? This is a big consideration when it comes to concealed carry. The Shield Plus happens to come in at 17.9 ounces. The LCR happens to come in at 17.1 ounces. The height portion of the guns is very close on both of them. With the Smith & Wesson, it's 4.6 inches, and with the LCR, it's 4.5 inches. What about barrels? Well, of course, this has a 3.1 inch barrel. This one has a 1.87 inch barrel, but it also has the chambers located in the cylinder, if you were to take that into account, I suppose. So what about width? Width on these, this is 1.1 inches wide, okay? A little wider than some of the real micro compacts, I would say. Some of them are even under an inch. This one is about an inch wide down here at the Hogue monotable grip. Up here in the rest of the frame, it's about 3/4 of an inch wide. The cylinder, however, is about 1.25 inches. So in that way, yes, the revolver is wider, but the overall with the overall gun is in some ways similar, or maybe even less in some cases. This one happens to have 3-dot sights. This one happens to have fixed sights, which they both can be changed out. One of them is dovetailed in. This one happens to be pinned, so you could put a more, I guess, luminous fiber or something like that in there if you so desired. I would say that, in shooting them, I enjoy shooting both of them quite a bit. So how do I apply the use of them? This one here I carry quite often now because I was, like a lot of people, I had to face the situation that a lot of folks now are carrying 10 round or more micro or mini compacts, whatever you want to call them. And of course it has a 13 round option. A lot of them have 10 or 12 round magazines. Some even take more than that. This one only has 5 rounds. But what about the rounds? This one will chamber 357 Magnums. Now the barrel's not that long, so you're probably not going to get the full advantage of the energy out of them as you would in a larger 357. But there's also some short barrel formulas that might be able to improve upon that. That's still an extremely powerful round. And 38 plus Ps are pretty powerful on their own. And of course you have 38s if you don't need something as powerful. There's a variety of nice defensive ammo for both of them. Of course the 9mm has good, but really good muzzle velocity and foot-pounds of energy on its own. So that would be kind of how I'd look at them. So how do I use them? This one here I wear probably more often than I would. Let's put it this way. When I carry it, sometimes I like carrying the LCR, but depending on what the situation is, you always have to assess, what you're doing and why you might need it, if you need it at all. And this one definitely, the capacity plays into it, because otherwise I would not have bought it. I would have just kept using my P938, which I still do use because it's a smaller profile actually than this, although it's a more all-metal firearm. I use this one more probably when I'm local or around the neighborhood, or sometimes I like using this nice Galco leather outside the waistband holsters. So while we're talking about holsters, this is outside the waistband I like to use with this one. This one is a paddle holster. It's the Moulin Abbé kind of theme from We the People. It's an outside the waistband. I haven't used that one much yet, but I do use the We the People carbon fiber inside the waistband. Both of them have kind of a little bit of adjustable cant to them. I use that most of the time with the Shield Plus. And then for more like as close to the body as I can get it, I have a super tuck for the Ruger LCR and a mini tuck for the Smith & Wesson Shield Plus. And these holsters get in more like the $65 to $80 ranges depending on what deals are going on. This Galco one's probably more in the $45 to $50 range, just like this inside the waistband here, or this outside the waistband. This one was a Remora holster. I don't remember what I paid for it. It's a friction holster. Friction holsters have their pluses and minuses. They can be taken on and off easy, but you really have to keep track of the firearm because it's not connected to your body. So very important to keep good stewardship of what's going on with your firearm if you're using such a holster. Okay, so in the end, right, they both have, one other thing that's interesting about them. They don't, they're not DASA in any way, right? This is a double action only. It has a stiffer trigger pull. I found with the Ruger, I like to just kind of pull through it. That's my personal preference in using it. But you have to determine what works for you best. It's a nice, strong double action pull, which has pluses to that. And this one here, of course, is a striker fire. So it has just, when you pull it, it's just the same trigger pull over and over. So in that way, they're similar. They have the same trigger pulls, even though they have very different kinds of mechanisms. One other thing, you do have to practice malfunction drills with the semi-auto. A lot more than you do with something like this. However, I would remind people that snub-nosed revolvers are not a beginner's gun. You really have to practice and put in the time with any firearm that has smaller barrel lengths, but especially with snub-nose and depending on what kind of ammunition you're going to shoot. This is not fun to shoot with 357 Magnums in it. I shoot them periodically to remind myself and keep myself current on what it feels like, but normally it would be 38 plus P. So just some things to talk about with that. I like both of them very much. I'm very pleased with both of them. Do I have some other EDCs? Yes, I do. But I have 45 Colts that I carry sometime, a couple of them. I have the Bond Arms Derringer, which for a lot of people that would be completely unusable for them because of the capacity, but there are circumstances for me that works. And then I have also my Colt Detective Special, which has 6 rounds instead of 5, and then I have my Sig P938 as probably the most compact and concealable gun that I have. So anyway, I think I've rambled on long enough. I just wanted to share that with you, do a little comparison. Once again, if we kind of look at these guys side by side, I think we'll find the interesting part is they're very similar in their sizing. I find that to be really interesting, and in their weights, their dimensions and everything. Once again, capacities are different, but the types of ammo they shoot are different as well. More flexibility in ammo, some flexibility in ammo, but 9mm are and there's a really wide variety of ammos for both of them. That's a nice thing about both of them. So hopefully I'll get night sights for this one someday, and I may put a night sight or a fiber on this other one at some point. So as Desert Boy always says, you tell me what you think about these. Or some of you prefer revolvers? Do some of you prefer semi-autos, or do some of you have both? I'd be interested to know. So once again, Desert Boy always says, be safe out there, whatever you're doing. And if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Bye now.